When we talk about running a lifestyle trade business, there are a few people that are more qualified than today's guest on the show. Kenny Chapman lives in the beautiful state of Colorado in the USA. He started actually at university as studying computer science before he joined the US Army. From the US Army, he ended up in a drain cleaning business, which he purchased through the advice of a mentor. And he pretty much built that business to run without him, which led him into another avenue. So many people wanted to know how he built a service business to run without him actively being in it all day, every day, that he started coaching. And as a result, he's started up a Blue Collar Coach, and they basically teach trade-based organizations how they can run successful businesses and leverage things like sales, marketing, and leadership. So this is a fantastic episode with a very successful businessman, and I hope you all enjoy it. If you do enjoy it, please make sure you leave us some comments on iTunes, SoundCloud, or in the show notes. Thanks very much. Enjoy.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Okay, Kenny, welcome to Toolbox Talks. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, Matt. It's awesome to be here. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, no worries. So just for the listeners out there, Kenny and I met at a conference in Sydney, Australia a number of years ago. And I just approached Kenny because I know that he comes from a plumbing background, and he's now running a successful business which stemmed from his background in plumbing. And I've just invited him on the show today to help promote and build that message that we get out there so much in relation to, you know, where you start is not always where you end up. So Kenny is on the phone all the way from Florida, am I right?
That's correct.
And
correct.
How's sunny Florida, living up to its name?
It is at the moment, that's right. Definitely.
Bit warmer, I imagine, than your hometown of Colorado.
That's for sure. Definitely. This is the place to be right now. Yes.
Yeah. Ironically, if I was in Colorado right now, I would be loving it. I'm a fanatical skier. I spent a lot of time in Colorado skiing over the years. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to hook up on the slopes next time you're over there.
For sure. So, Kenny, tell me, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
A professional baseball player, believe it or not.
Right on.
Just grew up. My dad played a lot of competitive fast-pitch softball growing up in San Diego as a kid, and I was always around it and always wanted to be a part of it. And fortunately, it's actually what got me through high school is I had to keep a certain level of grades to stay eligible to play, and that was my thing. I was going to go to college and pursue that, and all the way up until after one semester of university, they said, "Yeah, you're not really cut out for this, and it's time to go." But that was it, man. That's what it was going to be, which is interesting because in business, I use personally a lot of metaphors and analogies, but it's just a big game. And so somebody's asked me before, and actually I'm really grateful that didn't end up playing out because I have a better quality of life, I think, than if I would have accomplished that goal. So
yeah, absolutely.
Ended up working out well.
Yeah, good on you. So are you a Colorado Rocky or a San Diego Padre?
San Diego Padre still. That's right.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, man.
As I sit here in my Toronto Blue Jay hat.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
That's
nice.
Good. We have that in common, actually. I grew up playing a lot of baseball as a kid. Probably didn't get to the level you did, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So tell me about your transition into a trade. What happened there? Obviously, you went to college. What did you study at college?
I just was it was computer science was going to be the major, but I literally went one semester and I did everything except study and prepare. And so they kindly asked me to go, which fortunately I didn't run up a lot of student loan debt like what's happening now kind of globally. But so I found myself ended up in the military, and I was in the United States Army for 3 years. And really that was what began to lead into my entrepreneur mindset, because the military is a great platform and it's a great thing. But what I realized is there was no performance-based pay whatsoever. And I was a good soldier, and I saw other soldiers being promoted right alongside me when I was out working them and doing a better job. And so that's really what sparked my interest of I need to find some way to get paid for my performance. And then it kind of led to the trades from there, as far as I just started as a drain cleaning company, a small Mazda pickup with 3 sewer machines in it. And I had no business being in business. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And I got started at 23 years old, and that completely changed my life.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a bit of a jump from computer science.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's quite a natural progression, not? But so I mean, why did you decide plumbing? I mean, what was with that?
So what had happened is I was fortunate enough to have an uncle that was a mentor of mine, and he was an electrician by trade, but he ended up in the real estate business, right? So as you and I were talking before we got on the show today, you know, the way things start aren't always how they finish. Well, he was an electrical contractor in San Diego, and then he started going into real estate, and so he knew a realtor in town, and I was just hungry for information. And so I would go to him all the time, and what books should I be reading? What should I be paying attention to? And he would always give me books to read. And then he introduced me to his realtor, and his realtor, mainly I call them mom and pop donut shops. The businesses that he would bring me are these bad businesses that you don't make any money, and you work for a lunatic, and that's you. And,
right.
and you just end up, you're not in business, you just buy a bad job. And those were mainly what he had. And then one day he brought me this company that was called Best Way Sewer Services, and it was for sale in my market. And it was funny. His name was Mark, and he brought me the listing, and I said, look, Mark, I know I told you to bring me everything that you've got, but come on, sewer cleaning, no way. And he said, just look at the numbers. Just look at the numbers and then tell me. And so I didn't really know a whole lot, but I started looking, and the company was netting 6 figures. And I was 22 years old at the time, and that was all the money in the world to me.
Yep.
And I mean, I never made more than $7 an hour. And so I went, holy smokes, well, I didn't have 2 nickels rubbed together at the time, so I couldn't buy that business, but it reminded me of that. So I was like, wow, I didn't know there was money in this business. And then we fast forward about 18 months, and I was working as a lumber salesman at a local lumber yard, and one of my clients had a small rooter business on the side that he decided to he was building a couple houses a year, and he had this drain cleaning company. And so I started working. Man, you got to sell me that. You got to sell me that. Oh, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. He had done it 8 years by himself in the truck. Call it walking around money. If somebody called and he wanted to go clean a drain, he would. And if not, he didn't, kind of a thing. And long story short, I think I wore him out enough that he finally just threw his hands up and said, okay, fine, here's a shot. And I paid more than I probably should have for it. And it certainly cost me a lot over the years of figuring it out. Because like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. And it took me 4 or 5 years to really get progressive and start focusing on the business and realizing I was in the customer service business, not the drain cleaning business. And so, but that was really how it all kind of came together to launch into the trades.
So with that in mind, for us non-American listeners out there, did you have to go and serve an apprenticeship to become a plumber?
No, in the state of Colorado, so I'm still not a licensed plumber. I mean, my company now today, I have the coaching business and blue collar, but I also still am a partner in my plumbing, heating, air conditioning company. And so in the state of Colorado, you didn't have to be licensed to be a drain cleaner. Okay. And so by the time we started doing full service plumbing, I was hiring licensed people and went that direction with it. So no, I was fortunate in the fact that I didn't have to go through all that in the beginning just to get started.
Okay, gotcha. So tell me about your transition into your current business, into a blue collar coach.
Yeah, so basically what happened is I got progressive, and I started hanging around the smartest people in the industry, and I believe that success leaves clues, and I believe that the people that you hang around with are incredibly important to your success. And so I went to all the best industry events and got around the smartest people and would buy dinners and buy lunches and start paying attention. And then I implemented. And that's the thing, is there's one thing to be said about information, but a whole lot more to be said about implementation. So as I implemented, I actually created a self-managing company in the contracting world, which isn't real common in the U.S., Canada, and Australia. And so because of that, it put me on a national map where people were like, oh, hey, we want we want to learn how you did it. We want to run our companies like you and this and that. And so I don't have children, and I always have had a strong desire to give back. And so I was a certified E-Myth consultant for a couple years, and then it was just a natural transition for me to start helping tradies really start, focusing on how they can grow their business and really make a good life rather than being a slave to the business.
Did you say E-Myth consultant as in the book?
Yes, correct. Yeah, I read the E-Myth, and those of you listening, if you haven't read the book, it's E-Myth. Michael Gerber's the author. One of the best business books on the planet, in my opinion. And I read it in 2000, the year 2000, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So in December of 2000, I became a certified consultant. I spent a year in Michael Gerber's coaching platform and some of that. But what was interesting about E-Myth is it was great as far as an overall business platform, but you still had to kind of create everything from scratch. And I'm too impatient for that. So I sought out some industry expert organizations where I could just plug and play and make things happen a lot faster than creating everything from scratch.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, I'd second that. It is actually a fantastic book. I've read it a number of times. So for your listeners, E-Myth, who's it by again? Robert Gerber?
Michael Gerber.
Michael Gerber. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what's unique about your current company, Blue Collar Coach?
So we're non-exclusive, meaning that most of the best practices groups in our industry, you join them and that's it, or you're a franchise and that's it, or there's these kind of exclusive territorial-based things, and for us, we're kind of open source. We're more the Firefox, if you will, of in our high-level coaching groups, we've got multiple franchisees, we've got multiple best practices belongers all across the board. And so we do things differently, and all we do is focus on sales, marketing, and leadership, period. And it's the stuff that really drives the company forward. We're not about releasing information to be releasing information. We're about releasing information to drive the company. And I believe because I still own and I'm still involved every day, and we see the ups and the downs and the changes of Google algorithms and how pay-per-click changed just last week as we're recording this, or a week and a half ago now. They just changed their algorithm, and so I think it keeps us relevant and it keeps me sharp because I'm on site with clients a lot, and it's one thing to be on site and learn a lot. It's also something else to learn from your own company and the blood, sweat, and tears that you put in there as well.
Yep. No, I agree. So tell me, was there a pivotal moment for you entering into Blue Collar Coach?
Yeah, it really came down to, I'm a life guy, Matt. I think you got that from when we met several years ago there in Sydney, and I was talking to a mentor of mine, and I said, I love the trades, but I just don't want to talk plumbing all day, every day. And so I thought I had to go do the big stage stuff. And I wrote a book, The 6 Dimensions of Change. And I traveled with Les Brown, and I've done the big stage stuff. But I really wanted to go deeper, but I didn't want to just talk about plumbing. And this guy that was my mentor was from the mortgage business. And he said, look, the last thing I want to do is talk about points on a mortgage or interest, this or that. He said, but, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, and electrical is your platform to reach people. Then you can change their lives. Mm-hmm. And it just clicked. It just literally clicked. And I went, okay, that's it. I'm in. I'm going all in. And that's true. I mean, with our titanium group, we have weekly phone calls, and it might start talking about internet advertising or the challenge of hiring quality team members, but it's always about growing people and helping improve lives. So that was really what did it for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a bit of a metaphor for business in general, isn't it? I mean, everything you do is really focused around adding value or improving somebody's life in some way or other.
Exactly. Absolutely right.
I mean, we wouldn't be recording this podcast if otherwise.
No, that's right. We're doing it right now, my brother.
So tell me, what do you do during the day? What takes up your time? What's your role in your business?
Really a lot of content development, coaching, training, working with my team. We do a lot of marketing. And so, I'm a big believer in unique ability, and meaning that there are certain things that you're really good at that you should be focused with your time. And that's my calling, is developing programs and platforms that really help people become their best selves and best leaders and best marketers. And so I really, try as a smaller business. I don't have a huge team, So certainly I have to do some email stuff or handle this or pay a bill or whatever, which as we continue to scale, I just want to continue to offload the things that aren't in my unique ability. And it's really about just developing tools and things that help people grow their companies and grow their lives.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, with a business like yours, you're pretty big on, building systems and standard operating procedures and getting people to follow these tasks. Is that right?
Yeah. Trying to get, I mean, the information's there, and that's what's interesting is, I mean, we're recording this in 2016. I mean, information's everywhere. It's more about how do we remove the blockers from people to get them to do the work and get them to take action on proven tools that we know work and those types of things. So that's really where I spend my focus and time.
Yeah. And is there any, I suppose, tips or techniques that you could share with the listeners on how you get your team to best follow your operating procedures and make sure they're sticking to their guns?
Yeah, I mean, I think peer accountability is an important part in our industry, and I think it's true of all industries and all trades. But we, I think with the shared accountability of putting our titanium clients on the phone with each other every week and checking in and having hot seat time. And if I said last week I was going to do something, I don't want to show up on the Wednesday call and tell Matt I didn't get that done. And so, a little bit of good peer pressure, if you will, is always a positive thing for us as entrepreneurs and leaders.
Yeah, cool. So it's sort of like a group call, is it, where you all hold each other accountable? Is that how that works?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Awesome. So, what's the one thing that keeps you awake at night?
Oh, I was thinking about that. Let me count the ways, right? So I honestly, I think it's opportunity that really there's only so many hours in the day, and as a mover and a shaker and a producer, I struggle with feeling like I didn't get as much done as I wanted. And it's funny because as I say that out loud, I spend a lot of my time coaching my clients, about progress, not perfection, and all those types of things. But then you find yourself coaching clients a lot of times on the things that you need to hear the most too. And so, it's about being easy with yourself and knowing that every day you're just moving the needle forward. But for me, it's missing opportunity or how could I have made an impact that maybe that didn't get done or didn't get reached or whatever. So, I'm an abundance guy, and those are the things that just really drive me. And so it's more excitement than anything that keeps me up.
So how do you draw the line there with, I suppose, taking on or expanding what it is you do as opposed to, niching down and focusing on one specific thing and dominating that? I mean, a lot of guys out there, I mean, I suppose it's typical of an entrepreneur, a business owner, we always try and do too much. Where do you draw the line?
Well, I think it's about focus. And one of the things that, I'm a big Steve Jobs fan for what he did with Apple and his time away and then coming back and different things. I think there's a lot to be learned from a company like Apple. And one of the favorite things, and I'll paraphrase it because I don't have it exactly in my head, but they were talking to Steve Jobs about focus. And he said, for me, focus is when you say no to an opportunity that is so good that it literally keeps you awake at night because it's such a great opportunity, and yet you say no to it because you're focused on something else.
Yeah, right.
And so, there's all kinds of opportunity. We live in this world of abundance, and the people that I see that really get the most done and are the most effective say no a lot. It just happened today, as a matter of fact. I had a great opportunity to build a new sales platform for one of the largest service contractors in the U.S. And I just, we looked at it, we strategized about it, and it was just taking us off of a focus that we're on right now. And we literally just had to say no. And it's not easy, and it never gets easy. But the freedom that you give yourself with that and the clarity that it drives, I think, is ultimately the end goal answer. So I think we got to say no a lot more than we say yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. So what do you do when you're not working?
I like to play a lot, like to cook a lot. My wife and I are both, we're big into, we're chefs, I guess is what I'll say. And so we like to cook. We're kind of foodies and we do a lot of that. And then, we travel a ton, obviously for work and we're always adding on for, having a good time wherever we are, what we're doing. But,
yeah.
And then when we're home in Colorado, we do a lot of hiking. I love the mountains of Colorado and being outdoors. So a little mix of just outdoor exercise, cooking. As much as we cook, we better be getting outside and exercising a little bit.
Yeah.
And now I'm into craft beer. I'm making my own beer too, so that's always a fun one as well.
Jeez, I might be coming to stay with you sooner than you think. By the way this conversation's going, baseball, skiing, mountains, beer. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's unreal. And so, are you in the mountains? Do you live in the ski fields, or where are you in Colorado?
We're in the high plains, the western desert, so we're like 30 miles from Utah. So
okay.
We're not right in one of the big resorts. We got a little ski mountain about 40 minutes from my house, but what's really cool is we're 2 hours from Aspen, we're 2 hours from Vail, we're 2 hours from Telluride the other direction.
Yeah.
So we're in a really good, quick and easy way to get there, and we don't have the big city traffic coming from the Denver side since we're all the way out west.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, good on you. Okay, so tell me, now this is a bit of a hypothetical question, but if you were walking along the beach in Florida and you kicked a bottle on the beach and a genie popped out, if he could grant you one thing to fix in your business, what would that be?
Communication.
Okay.
I think I feel like I'm a good communicator. I study communication. I train it, we work on it, and yet it seems like there's always that ongoing opportunity. And the reality is it's because we're in the human business, we're whether it's our service company back in Colorado, whether it's blue collar, working with our team here, there's always opportunity to improve communication. So if a genie could just fix that, I'd be happy. Because what do they say in the service business? This would be a great business if it wasn't for the clients and the team members. It's like, okay. So I would want that genie to just wave the magic wand and fix communication challenges.
So what is it, more of an internal thing you're talking about there, or is it more of a team to customer B2B scenario, or what do you?
I think it's overall. I think it starts with leadership. We've had a transition lately. As I mentioned, I sold off some of the stock of that business last year. I took on some partners. So I think partner communication is always important, but it's also, from leadership to the front line, and then how does the front line communicate forward to the client, to the end user? Because in the service business, one of the things I talk about a lot is however many trucks you have, that's how many brands you have. Yeah. And if Matt shows up today and he's not really feeling like he wants to go get it done based on our brand, then Matt's the brand today. And so I think that it's all the way. It's top all the way throughout to the messaging that you put out in the marketing through your marketing message as well.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there's a whole other podcast in that alone, so we might leave that there. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So what's the best advice you've been given?
So about 2 years into this, like I said, I didn't come from the trades. I never wanted to be a technician or a plumber. I am not, multi-generation or anything like that. And so I wanted to be a business owner from the very get-go, but I was in the truck by myself for 2 years before I hired my first team member, and I hated it. I wasn't very good at it, quite honestly. And so I used to call the most successful people in my market, the top real estate agents, the guy that owns all the Taco Bells, the different whatever. And I would just, ask if I could just take them to lunch and pick their brain. And so I went with the guy that owns all of our Taco Bells, and his family was like part of the founding part of it. I mean, he has 70 of them in, U.S., Germany, all over the place, right? And so I told him, I said, I don't think I want to do this. And I was like 24, 25 years old. And he said, that's fine. He said, I'll tell you this, and I'll never repeat it. But he said, when I was your age, I was running a Taco Bell for my parents. And the last thing in the world I ever wanted to do was run a Taco Bell. And he said, so if you want to get out of this business, that's fine. And you can start looking at other avenues and do different things. But until you do that, be the very best that you can be at all aspects of it. Wow. And as simple as that sounds, and as trivial as that might sound, that completely changed my life. And I've brought that forward to everything we do when we build a new program for blue collar. It's going to be the very best thing that we can build. And so, not to get stuck with perfectionism, because I think perfectionism completely blocks people, but to just give it everything that you've got every single day and really good things happen. And so I still go back to, 20, whatever that is, 23 years ago now. And it still resonates with me on a daily basis.
And if I asked you if you could give anyone else any advice, would that be it?
I think, I think that would be it, tied with authenticity.
Yeah.
So I believe that you've got to be who you are. For many years, as I would hang around other successful people, I would almost kind of take on their goals and dreams rather than, I grew up wearing secondhand clothes. I had a bad relationship with money. My father rode with a rival gang of the Hells Angels when I was a kid. And I had a lot of self-worth issues. And I think that, for up and coming business owners, I would just recommend that, give it everything you've got, but be true to who you are and be yourself. And as much as, here we're going through an election, it seems to be a year-long freaking thing now in the U.S. But as we're going through this mess of a presidential election thing, it's like that just shows you how we're just starving for leadership. All over the globe, I think, and our focus is the U.S., Canada, and Australia, and I think we all see it that people want leaders, but they want authentic leaders and people that are willing to be authentic with themselves, and I think that's what really can bring new business owners really, really good things moving forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everything, as a colleague of mine says, everything rises and falls on leadership.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, what's the best thing you've ever done to find new customers?
Cool. So I'm going to kind of flip this around on you, and I think that I'm a big believer in before unit, during unit, and after unit marketing. Meaning that we do certain things before we actually have a client. We do certain things while it's going on, and then we do other things in the after unit after we've already serviced them or get them in our funnel. And I think the best thing we can do is to find new customers is to focus more on that after unit. What I see with the clients we work with, the contractors worldwide, so much time is spent on that before unit. A lot of time and energy spent on the during unit when we're actually making sales processes work and different things like that. And then we get them, and then we don't follow up with newsletters and staying in touch and keeping them engaged. And we think we got them once and they're always going to come back. The best new customer you can ever have is the same customer coming back.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a big thing that we deal with our customers regularly. We get people call us all day, every day, asking, wanting to run marketing towards, to bring in new clients. And when one of the first questions I always ask them is how many people have you worked for in the past? And some of these people have had thousands and thousands of people they've invoiced, and they, instead of driving paid marketing towards attracting new customers, we just simply apply a strategy to re-engage them with customers that have already paid and purchased from them. I mean, it's something, don't quote me on the statistic, but it's something like you're 85% more likely to retain a client than to gain a new one.
Absolutely. It's huge.
Yeah.
And they're familiar with you. They know your pricing structure. They're willing to spend, and they spend more than new cold leads all the time.
Yeah, and I suppose they're happy to spend more regularly as well. I mean, you've gone through the hardest step of getting your foot through the door. Once you're in, you just got to work on servicing them better. No, that's a good point to bring up. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Cool.
So, how do you guys avoid competing on price in the service business?
So, what we focus on with our clients is differentiation, right? And so the other thing is that everybody thinks it's about price, but it's truly not, because as you and I are probably both looking at an iPhone on our desk or whatever right now, the computer we're using, the different things that we have around us, the watch that I'm sitting here looking at, we want to make it about price when it involves us as a service contractor. But we forget that 90% of decisions they might be influenced by price, but the price is not the driving component, other than about 10% of transactions. And some people just flat out can't afford it, and that's okay. And that's why we don't run 100% conversion rates. And so, the reality is that you just have to forget about, the price is the price, and it's fixed and it's set. And so now we focus on value. And, and again, when you look at the global companies like an Apple, like a Nordstrom, Zappos, like the people that go to the market. And I'm a big believer in big, bold guarantees. And I'm always working with our top clients on ramping up their big, bold guarantee. And it's funny because they'll freak out and they're worried about it. And then you go look at a company like Zappos and go, well, here's a guy that Amazon was already a powerhouse, and he comes in to start selling shoes. And like, well, how can you offer a big, bold guarantee where you just order as many pairs of shoes as you want and try them on, and if you don't like them, we'll send them back, and we're going to pay the shipping. And people are like, that'll never work. But that's the differentiator. And then obviously Amazon ended up buying that business from him 8 years later on several $1 billion of revenue. And so, contractors focus on price because that's where we come from. And a lot of people come up like me where, I wasn't good at school. And so, what happens? Put the tradies in a VOTEC, put them in a trade school because that's where the quote unquote dumb kids go. And then we have a lot of issue about that. We have a lot of challenge mindset wise and believing that we're worth it and realizing, one of the quick sidebar, but I mean, about 2.5 years ago, well, it's March now. So maybe it was 3 years ago, March, in the U.S., they closed the United States government for 2 weeks. And I remember I was doing a technician training school in Phoenix, Arizona, which Arizona was hit really big because they got the Grand Canyon. They've got, all these different things going on. Well, here's the thing. You can close the government for 2 months or 2 weeks in Canada, U.S., Australia, whatever, and really business kind of just goes on. It's not that big of a deal. But what if they closed the trades? What if we didn't take a drain call, an electrical call, an HVAC call to condition air, to keep things clean? Like, you cannot shut us down. Yeah. And so people focus on price way more than they should be focusing on the value that they're doing and how they differentiate from all the, quote, just another contractor.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. When you say they shut the government down, what does that mean?
They literally closed, like they put them on furlough. They ran out of budget. And so they furloughed all the employees and didn't pay any payroll and this and that. It was just a big political mess. But yeah, they literally just shut her down for a couple of weeks. So none of the national parks were open, none of this going, and it was such an interesting thing that I had a group of 50 technicians or something, and where I'm like, hey guys, look at this. You can't, they can't operate without the trades. And I think we need to, as people that come from the trades and focus on the trades, we need to continue to remember that our worth is that strong.
Yeah, right. Wow, it's crazy. I don't know how I never heard of that, but I'm sure I'm not alone.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So have you got any tips on how the listeners can win work or get better conversions?
I think, the key there, Matt, is to focus on relationship, right? So, there's a lot of transaction-based selling that I see take place. And I spend a lot of time doing sales training, doing conversion training, doing education training, and then writing with technicians. And when you and I met in Sydney, I spent 5 weeks there riding with Sydney contractors and getting in the trucks and going around and seeing what happens. And, it's funny because in the U.S. I'll be told, oh, you don't understand my market. And in Canada, well, you don't understand Canada's different. And then Australia, and it's like, no, they're all people are people are people. Mm-hmm. It's all the same. And so what happens is if we focus too much on us and the product or the service, then nothing good happens. But it's all about that open direction. And so, one of the things I like to do is ask somebody to, sell me a pen. And I'll do an exercise with technicians where they'll just start selling me this, a writing pen, right? They'll just sell me this ink pen. And they'll launch into amazing benefits and features and all these types of things about how crazy good this pen is. And then at the end, I tell them, well, I wouldn't buy it anyway because I was just looking for a pen to prop open the window. And so remember, so here's the thing is people buy for different, they buy the exact same product for very different reasons. And so if we're not opening the door, we call it the discovery process, to really open of what they're looking for and why. They might buy a water heater, exact same water heater that you and I might invest in, but I'm going to invest in it for different reasons than you are. And only until you get to me, people don't buy when when they understand you. They buy when they feel understood. That's the best way to create better conversions.
Yeah, wow. Very good. So do you guys, I mean, obviously, running a team, I'm sure you use a lot of technology in your business. Do you have any favorite apps or business tools or CRMs or anything like that?
Well, I'll speak for my clients here at the moment. The hottest CRM that we're seeing go right now is called Service Titan. And, it's an amazing program that my business partners haven't gone there yet to look at implementing it at my company, Peterson. But it's a massive powerhouse from a lead, really managing leads and helping you understand where your leads are coming from a cash flow perspective, a conversion perspective, those types of things. And I think that it right now it appears to be the software of the future, at least from what I'm seeing.
I'll have to look that up. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with most of the tools out there, but I'm not sure if I've heard of Service Titan. So that's interesting. I wonder if it's in Australia yet.
I'm not sure if they are or not, but it's definitely worth taking a peek at and seeing.
Job management or project management or both?
Yeah, it does both, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Interesting. Okay, so what's the, in your experience, what's the best way that you can keep a project or keep a client in line?
I think that clarity of process has everything to do with that.
Yeah.
And I just see that the other thing, between the top performing companies and technicians compared to the ones that kind of struggle or middle of the road, very, very minor differences, right? So you and I are both baseball guys, and we think about, right now in the U.S., somebody that's in Major League Baseball and hits for a 300 batting average, they're going to make multi-million-dollar contracts and all this kind of stuff. But if somebody hits for a 200 batting average, they might make league minimum.
Yeah.
And so, but the difference in performance is only one hit in every 10 at-bats. Mm-hmm. And that's where the people that really get it done and that really keep clients in line is you stick to the process. If they throw you off, you've got to find a way to circle back and get back on track with what you're doing. And you must make, your client focused, but you've got to remain in control of the situation and the buying process.
I mean, I think this is just a learning curve that we go through as business owners as well. But I know certainly I've just gone through, the stage recently where you're just going to have to accept the fact that sometimes you're just going to get clients that are never going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose I'm at a point now, especially within my businesses, where I'm just trying to, get our onboarding sequence better so that I can filter them out from the beginning and just turn that down.
Absolutely. People are crazy. Let's be honest, right? So you're going to run across them. They're going to come and like you said, the better of a process you have for funneling them out, being willing to say, look, maybe this just isn't a good fit because, you run across all these great clients and great people, and yet we run across the crazy one here and there, and it just sucks the life right out of you.
Yeah.
And, so I think you got to stay focused on the more often than not rule there.
Got any techniques on how you can get referrals?
Well, I think, there's a couple things that come to mind. And one is obviously a dedicated referral program is a very important piece. At Blue Collar, we have a specific strategy for our clients to refer other clients that they want us to be working with as well. In the service business, I think you've got to have your referral cards and you got to have the, buy them dinner, whatever that is. But at the end of the day, it's twofold. One is people will never refer just for the reward. And I see a lot of programs put together where, we're going to do this for you, do that for you. At the end of the day, if I run across something that I think is cool and it works, I'm going to hit up my buddy Matt and go, hey, Matt, here's something I think that would work. If the company decides to give me a kickback or something, fine. But I'm not going to do that if I don't really believe in the product, but I say, oh, hey, look, I can get $25 from this company if I get Matt to use them.
Yeah.
So I think that's number one. Number two is we've really got to focus that reviews are the new referral. And so online reviews are becoming absolutely critical to our success of being listed in Google and different types of algorithms. And that's going to be the new win. And so, and a review is nothing more than a referral from somebody that you don't know.
Yeah.
And I just, we had a speaker at the SAMI event, our sales and marketing intensive that we hosted 2 weeks ago. And I forget the exact number off the top of my head right now, but the percentage was over 52%, 52, 57, something like that, of people believe an online review as a referral, even though they don't know the person that's referring it.
Right.
And so the point is, it's like, now we've got to spend as much time there and focus on reviews, because that's really turning into the new referrals.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I know I sat with a client yesterday, and we've got there's a referral platform out here that people can leave, reviews on jobs they've done and that kind of stuff. And one of them, they had a really good rating, like they had like a 5-star rating, but there was one bad review in there, and they were kind of sweating on that. But I mean, do you have that problem in the States, where somebody is dissatisfied with some work that's been done, and instead of coming to you to address the situation, they just go to the review platform and leave a bad review?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's multiple, that's a whole nother episode in itself as well. But I think that, the proactiveness of it is what's important. The contract, and people get that. And I don't even want my clients to have a 5-star all the time. I saw one yesterday, it wasn't one of our clients, but I saw somebody that had, 170 reviews and they're 5-star. Come on. Yeah. Let's be honest. I mean, that's not realistic. And I think, so people get the crazies out there. I think that you just have to respond to every one of them and pay attention, and then try to find a good platform that will funnel it for you. So where, if they're unhappy and they're on your platform, to try to get you to be notified before they actually get to the internet. And at the end of the day, you just do the best you can with it. But I think it's got to be a proactive focus of our companies every single day now.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have is it part of your systems and processes, like after a job's been invoiced or paid for, do you send them out would you mind leaving us a review email or something like that? Or do you get like a feedback form or?
Yeah, exactly. We do it at the home. The technician attempts straight away in the field, because we're all mobile.
Yeah. Try
to get it right away. If we don't get it, then we're going to follow up by phone anyway, just to ask about their experience, see how things went. When they tell us how great we are, then we're going to ask them again and have an email sent to them with a link to where they can go ahead and do that. And then I think there's maybe one more touch after that. But it's got to be a focus.
And is that do you incentivize that at all, or do you not need to?
No, for the techs we do. It's not to the owner. It gets pretty sticky. I've got a client right now testing giving a donation to the local food bank or something like that for one, but it gets a little tricky when you're starting to look at buy-in reviews from clients.
Yeah.
For our techs, we run contests and who had the most this week or that, and just kind of keep on trying to change it up. And in my opinion, it's part of their job. It needs to be done.
Yeah, awesome. Good work. Okay, so I suppose we're getting close to the end now. I've just got a few more questions. What's the number one thing you can do to differentiate yourself?
I think it goes back to unique ability again, and really knowing who you are, what your strengths are, and how you can best serve somebody. And that's a work in process. It's not an easy thing that you just go, oh, hey, this is what I'm all about. So regardless of whether you're a new business owner, somebody that's thinking about becoming a business owner, or sometimes one of the biggest challenges is if you've been an owner over 20 years, like I have myself, it's you got to keep reinventing yourself. And I think that's where differentiation comes in, because, the game is changing. I wrote the book on change, The 6 Dimensions of Change. And so, well, it sounds a lot. I wrote a book on change, but it sure sounds better when I say I wrote the book on change, right? But so, what's funny is people are always like, oh yeah, I love change, but you go first.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we continue to evolve, because the world, change is it's a constant. It's always going to happen, but progress is a choice. Yeah. And I think that's where differentiation really comes in.
Yeah, excellent. So Actually, on that note, is that book for sale? Can people get that book from anywhere? Is it on iBooks or anything like that?
Yeah, we've got it. It's on Amazon. It's on our website, thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com. We've got audio. We've got ebook. We've got hard copy. Kind of, any platform people want. You bet.
I might post a link to that in the show notes. If people are looking to read that, then there'll be a link there you can click on and take you to that page. That'd be good. Okay, so tell me, what's the future hold for Kenny Chapman?
We're going to just continue to grow our influence with the Blue Collar Success Group and focus on progressive, like-minded tradespeople that want to have a better life and want to do things differently. And we're all told, this is such a difficult business and it's so hard and that's all such limiting beliefs. It's just garbage. And so I'm like, what makes me tick is coaching and training and helping people remove limiting beliefs and barriers that don't need to exist. So we're just going to continue to go deeper and build a fence around the clients that really want to work with us and improve their lives so their families can have a better situation and their health gets better and everything gets better.
Do you imagine at one stage you'll remove yourself from the service business?
At this point, I mean, I've stepped down as the president when I sold off last year. So, I don't see myself at this point, as we're recording this today, I don't see myself stepping away from that business ever at this point because it keeps me relevant. So even though I'm not involved in the day-to-day operation, I have weekly leadership calls with my team. I hear if a technician quits, or we had a tattoo policy issue last week, literally, that was like, you got to be kidding me, right? And but it keeps me relevant. I think it makes me better for my clients. And I love my team. I love my people. And I don't see it any other way. In fact, if anything, I could see myself partnering with other clients of mine in different markets to be able to go deeper and even have a piece of some other companies around the country as well.
Okay, interesting. So what's the tattoo policy?
Oh, so it was about, like having things covered up and this and that. And so, and what's interesting, because it's, I don't know how it's coming in Australia at the moment. I mean, it's been a couple years since I've been down there now. I've been twice now for 5 weeks at a time. But in the U.S., I mean, we wrote these policies 20 years ago when it's like, it's still if you have a tattoo, it's a jail thing, right? And now it's like, I mean, I think every female in my office has tattoos.
Right.
So the game has completely changed. And I think we have to look at what are we willing to go to the wall for? And if it's having a tattoo that shows maybe 25 years ago, that was a big issue. And I just don't think it's that big of an issue any longer. And that's my own personal belief. And many people won't agree with that, but I think you got to operate, you got to run, and you got to own to really know what that looks like.
Yeah, I suppose it's relative, isn't it? I mean, there's tattoos and there's tattoos.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'd question the conversions if your technician had a tattooed face, but
right.
I think I mean, it's same in Sydney, Australia. There's a lot of people now with rocking around with tattoos, and I think for the better part, people kind of expect it.
Right.
All right, so how can people reach out to you?
Kenny, Kenny, at thebluecollarcoach.com.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny at thebluecollarcoach.com, or just jump on our website, thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, and fill out a contact us form, or check out. We've got a lot of free information. We've got a blog that I post weekly and shoot a video for, and we're in the information business, so we just put out a lot of quality content that doesn't cost anybody anything to get. It's our passion. It's what we do.
Rock and roll. That's great. Oh, well, that pretty much sums it up. The last question that I ask all our guests is who they'd like to see next on the show.
Yeah, Matt, I'd love to see Ellen Rohr. Ellen's a friend of mine in the trade. She spoke at our sales and marketing intensive 2 weeks ago. She was a mentor of mine years and years ago. I've known her for 20 some years. She does a lot about uncomplicating business plans, and she's just a super, super lady, incredibly smart, calls herself the plumber's wife because her and her husband had a plumbing company years ago, and he wanted to stay one truck and she wanted to grow, and I think she would be. So they went their different directions business wise, and now she's one of the best coaches in the industry. I'd love to have her on with you.
Fantastic. And as we record this today, it's March 8th and it's International Women's Day. So that's pretty appropriate. I'd love to have her on the show.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right, that's fantastic. Well, I might get you to connect us in an email and we'll get her on the show for sure. So thanks very much for that.
Absolutely.
Look, Kenny, thank you very much for your time. Well, what time is it over there right now?
5:35 p.m.
Right on.
On the 7th. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, look, thanks for spending this time with me. I know you could be out doing better things or other things, so it's much appreciated by me and the audience.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure, Matt. I love what you're doing. Keep it going. Let me know how I can help. And thanks so much. It's always an honor and a privilege to spend some time with you and your listeners.
Absolutely. Thanks very much. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. So if you haven't already, head across to thesiteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum, where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.